Dear Venerable Sister and Brothers, Dhamma friends, we are going to start a sermon. So may everyone settle down for that sermon and give the concept with 3 times. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Mayang bhanti evang hoti noko sukhena sukhang adigantabbang dukkhena ko sukhang adigantabbang ti. Dear Venerable Dhamma friends, whenever we are gathering together for a residential retreat, we try our best to make use the time to gain the desired results. So we have to facilitate for that in different ways. We know our worldly methods in order to give the conducive conditions to achieve the target, and the Buddha to be, the Bodhisattva himself too had this kind of an endeavorance, and after his enlightenment, he summed up all his efforts in a productive way, and he reduced the facilitating ways into 5, and gave as an advice. He said, whenever if you wish to have the desired gain, that means fruition and path knowledge, both in samatha and vipassana way, you have to facilitate that particular desired goal in 5 ways. It is called anuggahita in Pali terms. Anuggahita means the ways to facilitate towards your goal. So there are 5, and the first one, known as the Sila Anuggahita, you have to restrain yourself at least physical and verbal way. So that self-restrainment is not an commandment, it is not a must, but you must have your mind made to restrain yourself as much as possible. Then only, or only then, you can think about the restraining of your mind. So therefore, before going to this mind culture or the meditation, you must try to restrain yourself, discipline yourself in physical and verbal sense. That is equal sila or morality. So therefore, one must always uplift or keep up higher moral standard whenever he or she is taking this kind of a residential retreat. That is why at the outset of this retreat, we ask or we recommend all the lay people to take 8 precepts. That means you are doing away with the evening meals, doing away with all the garlands and the beautification, everything, and do away with all the sexual parts and go for the celibacy. It's a kind of a new thing, so that whenever someone is assuming sila or morality, moral restrainment, he or she is making the mind more fresh, a new start for the retreat. So we in Sri Lanka, we in Nissarana Vanaya, taken this as a standard right at the beginning of the retreat. We generally recommend 8 precepts, at least 8 precepts. So that is the way we get together under one condition regarding the morality. The second thing is Sutta Anuggahita. That means daily we have to listen to Dhamma. Individually, we have certain amount of knowledge, so to say, theoretical knowledge, book knowledge, and that has to be geared towards its goal. So therefore, you have to refresh your knowledge, the book knowledge, and that is why this hour we have separated and allocated for a Dhamma talk. So maybe you are listening to the same thing. Maybe not for the first time, but to bring all the people to certain amount of concentration and geared to the goal, we take 1 hour separate and take it as a sermon and listening to the Dhamma. And that can be whatever the conducive theory towards our goal. But in this case, for this retreat number 122, we have selected the Bodhiraja Sutta, Bodhiraja Kumara Sutta, also name for that, and you may find it in the middle sayings, and it is a long sutta as far as this retreat is concerned, and it is discussing a number of topics, or not in a one episode, it's number of episodes, and some of them are related to the traditional initial things started at the contemporary time of the Buddha, and some of views from the lay people, some views Buddha as a Bodhisattva, Buddha to be, and some views after his enlightenment, and some views after his preaching Dhamma, and after getting certain of our experience as a teacher. So therefore, it's, as a Buddhist, it is very juicy, it is very sappy, a lot of episodes are there. So, when and where we are listening to that, it is always encouraging us to strive through the way we have taken. So, to recharge, it's our endeavorance. We are going to take, starting from today, 1 hour or 1.5 hours a day, as long as possible. So these talks will be delivered as a series, still based upon the same topic, Bodhiraja Kumara Sutta. So as the Sutta advance, we will take one episode by one episode and try to expand towards our goal. And the third facility or way of facilitating is the discussion. It's also very important to have a dialogue. In a talk, one person is talking and others are listening, it is one way. But in a discussion or in a dialogue or in a question and answers, there is a chance for the other parties also to raise a question or a topic or give comments. So that is also very important, and if you are following the Holy Script, it is doubtful whether they will allow you to ask questions out of that, because it is not much appreciated. But in the teaching of the Buddha, is always appreciating this questioning, analyzing, the analytical thing, and therefore more and more you analyze, you will gain the pith, the sap of Dhamma. So therefore you can go on discussing, analyzing, and the Buddha asks us not to accept anything unless otherwise you can digest it, unless otherwise you can comprehend it. So therefore the discussion is also part and partial, or out of 5 ways of facilitating. We in this retreat also, we take 1 hour for the question and answer. So therefore, when and where you have any question pertaining to the basic instructions, any question pertaining to your morality, moral conduct, and your meditation, you are welcome to ask in that question and answers. And with that with facilities, you are being asked to practice concentration meditation, as well as the wisdom, or Panya Bhavana, Samatha Bhavana. So, theoretical moral restrainment, theoretical understanding, question and answers, and concentration and wisdom are the 5 ways each and every one of us must strive through. When and where it is become a retreat, we as a group also take this common responsibility also. We may take responsibility of the moral condition of the group as such, and the theoretical understanding of the group as such, and our discussion as a one family, one group as such, and our way of concentration and our development of the wisdom must have some consistency. So that is why I, without directly going into the Bodhiraja Kumara Sutta, I took this Anuggahita Sutta to explain the or verification why we take 1.5 hours for this talk, and why we take 1 hour for question and answers, why we prescribe this moral restrainment or sila sikha. And with that basic understanding, if we are to start with one of the episodes where the prince called Bodhiraja asking or presenting an idea to Buddha, and this is the kind of a discussion, or real discussion start. He is asking, Venerable Sir, we have thought thus, this is one of my thinking, pleasure is not to be gained through pleasure. Pleasure is to be gained through pain. That is his view. Noko sukhena sukhang adigantabbang, dukkhena ko sukhang adigantabbang. To the Prince Bodhiraja to ask this question from the Buddha, there's a long background history. The Bodhiraja Kumara is a prince of that estate, and he built up a new building in a shape of a eagle landing. So therefore it is called Kokanada. And after finishing the building construction, no one still going to get into the house. It is still a house, not a home. And then he thought, best thing is to give a meal to the Buddha and let him inaugurate this house. So accordingly, he asked one of his servants to go to the Buddha and pay respect, and asked the Buddha that Prince Bodhiraja is expecting you to come for the tomorrow's meal. And accordingly, the servant goes there. So you can see details whenever agent or a messenger going to the Buddha with respect, how to deliver the message, and that is very, very in a diplomatic way, in a princely way, and still the agent is going, the servant, and he pay respect to the Buddha 6 times. First 3 for himself, and then 3 times for the master. And then says, master is asking, how are you, Bhante? How do you manage? And all the kind of thing. And then give the message. So you can see the communication. What is the responsibility of a messenger when messenger is delivering a message in a diplomatic way, not to get mixed up in the messenger and the language as well as the message. What a nice way of presenting. So therefore, early part of the sutta, when you read, you can see etiquettes, how it was, how it is happening. And you can see their traditions and the rituals and the etiquettes still among the Buddhist circles. So this is happening in India 2,600 years ago, and then their culture. And after that, the way the Buddha accepts that invitation is only by silence, by not giving any remark. That means, silence means that accepting. So this is not social enough to the present, under the present context. If you accept it, you have to say, how are you? Thank you. You gave me a meal and welcome. How nice, and all the kinds. All nonsense. All nonsense. If he is engaged and he says, I am sorry, I can't come. Otherwise, he gives the consent by silence. Then the messenger, confused, but he go and report to the master. I deliver the message, I hope, in a pleasant and present way, but the master was silent. And the prince, Bodhiraja, really knows that means the Buddha accepted the message. And next day, he prepared the meal and prepared the house for everything for the Buddha and the Sangha to come and take the meal. And again send the messenger, and he says, Bhante, my master says, now meal is ready. And then the Buddha is coming. And when he's coming, you see, when we are coming, we are walk on this cloth put on the ground. And exactly the same thing happened as a two-story building. And when the Buddha comes, Bodhiraja Kumara, the householder, go to the downs at the bottom of the staircase and ask, and the Buddha come and stop at the staircase. He never step into the cloth. I need to go and pay respect, Bhante, for our benefit and welfare. Please step into the cloth. The Buddha denied. First time, second time, third time. And then the Buddha looked back to the Venerable Ananda, the assistant, and Venerable Ananda says, you better remove the cloth. It appears that the Buddha is not happy to step into that. And he is setting an example for the next generations to come. And therefore, you better remove it. Then the householder removed the cloth. Then the Buddha climbed up, got into the staircase and taken the seat and taken the meal. After the meal only, the householder, get a direct contact or direct touch with the Bodhiraja Kumara, then the discussion starts. Then he is asking, the pleasure is not to be gained through the pleasure. Pleasure is to be gained through pain. And that's the invitive statement. And to give a kind of a welcome, the Buddha, he himself says, before the enlightenment, as Buddha to be, Bodhisattva, I also had the same idea. And that is to go parallel with the person who is presenting the statement, presenting his idea, dukkhena nako sukhena sukhaya adhikantappam. You cannot gain the pleasure through pleasure. If you wish to have the pleasure, you must gain it through the pain. So this is a kind of a idea or philosophical idea. This sutta is not going to accept it or reject it, but it's a platform for the discussion. And then the Buddha says, I also had the same idea, and with that I renunciate house at my prime age, leaving aside all the facilities. I came out, and before give a real serious understanding about this celibate life or ordained life, it occurred to me three examples. The Buddha, now the Buddha is telling the Buddha to be met up with that three examples, and that also little bit promoting and supporting the same idea. The pleasure cannot be gained through pleasure. The pleasure is to be gained through pain. The examples may communicate the idea, the same idea in a different way. The Buddha says in the early days there were no safety measures, no any measures. Whenever people wanted to have a fire, they rub to dry wood together, and then the heat develops, and they prepare some ghee and cotton wool, and whenever the wood come up to the burning level, he just get a spark on the cotton wool, and then through ghee as a fuel, it start to grow, and then blow it. Ultimately, they get the flame. So it's a very hard job. But it was the only thing common, because in the Hindu tradition, the offering the god of fire together with ghee is a kind of a ritualistic thing. So therefore, this is the way they had this earning fire. So the Buddha says, if someone wish to have fire and he go to a wood, it is under the water and it's completely soaked. And whatever the effort is going to rub with the dry wood, can that log under the water, fully soaked, make fire? Then Buddha says, never. It is impossible. So this is the very first example occurred to me. It is also original type that it crossed my mind. And the second example, he says, the wood, the log is taken up from the water. It is at the bank, but still wet. And someone is coming with another dry wood and try to rub against that log and try to kindle fire. Then he says, whatever the effort, whatever the methodology you take, can that particular person kindle fire? Then he says, no. And then he says, there's one log taken much earlier and it is now dry, and another person come and he rub against that dry wood with the dry wood, and then so much with effort he can heat it up. Sometimes he may kindle fire. So these are the three examples. That is, I would say, the first episode, and by which the Buddha explained, when the people are living in this luxurious life and the sensuous pleasure or sexual pleasure, whatever the desire they have, whatever the effort they do, whatever the methodology they try to understand the things as they are, it cannot be a success. You may be striving, you may be really honest, you may be putting forth energy, but that cannot be. And even you, after taken the wood, taken the log out of the water and keep on the bank, still if it is wet, very difficult someone to kindle fire. Even you are rubbing with a dry wood, with effort, you may develop certain amount of heat, but never come up to the burning level. The third one is, it is dry after taking up on the bank and keeping long time, then with effort may or may not. So these are the three stages the Buddha explained. From a householder person, their life is generally for the self-indulgence or sensuous pleasure. They consider this as a richness, or they are rich people. They throughout all the time try to make pleasure or pleasure principle by looking different shapes and colors, satisfying the eye, and listening different music, Western, Eastern, rock music, classic music, everything, and try to satisfy the ear. And through the nose, different smells. And whatever you have, it is not happy, you must have something special, specifically better than the neighbor's one. That is the one smell. Always you are chasing behind to have and you entertain others and you also indulge it. And the taste-wise, all the kind of foods, morning different, lunch different, and the dinner, and in between different things are snacks, drinks, so much of preparation. And the beddings and the seats and the vehicles and the comforts, endless. Even if you go to a meditation center, you can see how much type of cushions you have. And center to center is not enough. Pandita Sayadaw used to say, how much cushions you carry from one country to the other country when you go to a meditation center, because you think the comfort is very important for the meditation, so therefore you take pain and pet ideas. Each and everyone entertain different pet ideas, their philosophy. And with that kind of thing, it is like a log soaked in the water, and the person come and try with all the techniques and methodologies and tools and ways and means and rubbing against, there won't be any increasing of the temperature. It's hopeless. So therefore, this is the world we are living today, contemporary world, and we can think specifically from the country like Sri Lanka. About 30-40 years ago, we have not much surrounded by so much of luxuries. And people were very frugal and down to earth, and now we are developing with infrastructure and the communication. Everything is developing. And more it is developing, more and more you soak the log inside the deep water, and then still you strive honestly. And a lot of techniques are available, and faith available. And all you try, but the first example the Buddha found is, it is hopeless. There won't be any kind of a success to not only kindling fire, but come up to the fire level. It is impossible. So, for that, being in that such a sensuous world, there are some people, they are going against the grain. They understand, yes, we are chasing behind this pleasure principle, but sometimes it is developed the global heat. Sometimes it is developed the pollution. Sometimes it is developed the mental pollution. And sometimes it is creating so much of problems from with that global view, or one's own frustration or one's own tension. Some may understand that success means, worldly success or the sensuous success means some kind of a burning the candle from both the ends. Can there be any end to it? Because not a single human being died happily, even they successful or not. Whether they male or female, whatever may be, not a single being. So therefore still we are chasing behind the same. So there are some people, before coming into the very old age, before becoming to the deathbed, before becoming sick, they can understand, and that understanding is a basic qualification. It's a preliminary understanding. It appears the Buddha is not responsible for that understanding. He says it is a must. It is a starting, opening balance. One must have that understanding. This pleasure, the lasting pleasure, cannot gain through pleasure. So therefore Bodhiraja, the prince, he says, maybe the lasting pleasure you can gain through pain. And that is how people going against the grain, and they start self-mortification kind of practices. It appear like religious. It is appear like spiritual. And instead the other people, they are totally from morning to evening on the sense pleasure. So, going in a very fanatic way or in the extreme way, in the Sigmund Freud and others, they try to explain the total human behavior through sexuality. He told Each and every physical, verbal, mental, all behavior, one can explain through your sexuality. So therefore, that is the crux of the human nature, human mind. Everyone is trying to go on sexuality. The Buddha put into the sensuality. He told, unless otherwise you think on a religious lines or philosophical lines, your utter behavior is sensuous pleasure. And not only that, the Buddha sometimes try to draw examples. Whenever someone is totally dedicating the life for the sensuous pleasure, he and the animal, no difference. That behavior, totally you can program, you can tell, this is what it happened. So there are some people, even before the Buddha, they find the disadvantage of this. So such people take this kind of a statement, lasting pleasure is to be gained only through pain. So they go to the self-mortification, and now this is not a conclusion, this is what we are going to take it as a background in the society at large, and from that, how to find a methodology, how to find a way out for this kind of a perpetuating thing or a difficult thing. The Buddha, not from this particular sutta, he says some may renunciate this kind of a sensuous pleasure and then find refuge in a forest or under a tree or in a solitude place. So whenever someone is accepting that by the sensuous pleasure, I can't gain any kind of a lasting one, so therefore I have to renounce, I have to go under a tree or a forest and solitude place. Whenever he go to such a place, he may find just mere by renunciation from this sensuous pleasure, or just by going into a forest and under a tree or a solitude place, still you don't find a pleasure. A lot of difficulties and lot of lack of luxuries, facilities, and therefore after going there, if he is not understanding the practical value, the pragmatic value of renunciation, this sensuous pleasure, he will be from fire to the frying pan like. He will find it is very, very difficult to live in this renunciated life in the forest under a tree and the solitude place. So therefore, the Buddha, try to explain this measure of renunciating this luxury under the theory of relativity. He says, when and where you are living with the sensuous pleasure in the household life, your time from morning to evening is engaged in your movable and immovable things and your animal husbandry, your jewelry and your luxury, and no end. So therefore, the tension from the morning to the evening, and instead now you go to the forest, till you have some kind of difficulties due to the forest life, due to the under the tree life, due to this renunciated life. But now your tension, now your frustration is limited to this forest life. It is not much chasing behind and anchoring behind your household life. So therefore, by making use this forest life, taken as a pivotal point, you do away with all the household life, all the sensuous pleasure. So therefore, even though your solitude life or solitude place and that dwelling is painful, you consider this is a measurable pain when compared to the household life, it is no end. So therefore, some people, out of the renunciated people, very little fraction, see this point, and therefore they make a point to be pleased and glad in the forest life. They know, I am not in utter happiness. I know these are the difficulties in the forest life, but as far as I am in this forest life, or in the renunciated life, or in the retreat life, as far as I know I am in the retreat way, that indicates my mind is renounced from the sensuous pleasure. So this point, very, very difficult if you have no correct perspective. I am quoting this from the Chula Sunyata Sutta, and there the Buddha, the Venerable Ananda is asking, Bhante, you are talking about you are living in this voidness or sunyata. I heard, I can understand, is it true? Then the Buddha says, I told, yes, I am now here, yes. Then he asks, what is the meaning? He says, now we are in the forest. And when we are living in the forest, we are not with all the amenities and facilities, and therefore wherever we need, we can't have it. But as far as you know you are in the forest, as far as you are mindful that you are in the forest, your mind is free from the sense pleasure. Your mind is free from the household pleasure. So therefore your worries are not pertinent or not available presently, pertaining to the household life, housewife, husband, animals, money, movable and unmovable thing. You know you are in the forest. And therefore, very understanding or rather appreciation of the forest life means you have temporarily done away with the sensuous pleasure, household pleasure. So therefore, you can't get rid of the household pleasure without taking this pivot of forest life. So if someone is happy in the forest and says, as far as I know that I am living in the forest, as far as I know I am under a tree, as far as I know I am in the solitude place, that is a very clear indication my mind is not chasing behind the household pleasure, sensuous pleasure, sexual pleasure. So that very point indicates, even though you are suffering now, even though you are in the pain, you know non-pain, a limited pain, that indicates you are done away with endless sense pleasure. So this point we call renounced pleasure. Sometimes it's a renounced pain. Whatever may be pain or pleasure, as far as you know you are in a renounced life, that means in the same time mind cannot be worried about the household affairs. It cannot be frustrated about these things because now mind is occupied with the forest life. So that is a very clear or very gross or social level or large scale relativity. You have done away with the total household difficulties by taking up these forest life difficulties. And imagine now, after a while, you come and sit in your cushion and you forget about the forest, you forget about the tree, you forget about the household or this solitude hole. You try to limit your attention only to your body. Now when and where you know, I am here and now, I am sitting, here now I am. So much so, you have done away with the household worries and difficulties. You have done away with the forest difficulties, under the tree difficulties, under the solitude difficulties, because you know your mindfulness, diligence is limited to here, now I am. And then the Buddha says, here, now I am, itself is not a pleasure, it's a pain. But you take this little pain so that you can do away with the household worries, forest worries, and your worries, if at all available, limited to the body. So that much is enough for a retreat. If you know that much, that means each and every moment you are a glad person. As far as you are dwelling in the here and now, it is not a pleasurable thing. Don't consider this as a chocolate or any marshmallows or jujubes. The body is a torturing machine. But you know, as far as you are dwelling on the sitting posture or walking posture or standing posture or in your lying down posture, that very thought moment cannot entertain worries regarding your household difficulties. Your mind cannot frustrated on the past and the future, on the other affairs. So the Buddha says, now you see, you take little pain of your present posture. By limiting your attention, your mindfulness, your diligence to the so-called body, the frame of the body, it is not a pleasure, it's a pain. But that very appreciation of the present moment indicates you have temporarily done away with your whole past, whole future, household life, pleasure, sensuous pleasure, everything. So when and where you come to a body, be here and now, with two steps, as you are a householder back at home and you are a forest dweller at the monastery, now you reduce that into the body. So there the point is, when and where your attention come to the body, when and where you become mindful on the body, don't expect that mindfulness always to be with the pleasurable thing. Not necessarily. It may be some pleasure, pain. It may be burning pain, or back pain, or irritating sounds, or it may be thoughts, or maybe pain. Occasionally may be in-breath and out-breath. Occasionally may be with your primary object. But as far as you know, even though all the objects bombarding is not pleasurable, at least these bombarding objects indicate you are mindful. Your attention is with the body. And if you can sort them out and to make a point to be glad and make a point to be happy, not you are completely, totally out of the pain as such, but you are with limited amount of pain that you know, that sizable pain. So consider this as a point to be glad. You must try to find a reason to be glad under any circumstances, under which when you come to the meditation center, when and where you are walking, when and where you are sitting, when and where you are standing, when and where you are sleeping, if your mind is limited with your bodily posture, that's a very good indication you know relativity. You know you cannot get rid of this suffering unless otherwise you are appreciating certain amount of suffering. So that strategic value of the present moment suffering is a panacea, it's a kind of a healing. So we as meditators always must understand any pain, any unpleasant situation pertaining to the present moment, to the body posture, with me is only an object of meditation. It is nothing to make complaints. It is nothing to find a way out of it, because when you are trying to find a way out, mind is run into the past and the future, or the monastery, or you are back at home. So that means you are putting into more troublesome situation. So that is why the Buddha says, when and where the log is in the water, you can't make fire. When and where the log is taken out, immediately you can't make fire. You have to make it dry. After becoming dry, you may take a chance, then there's a chance, may or may not, you can kindle fire. Likewise, after the renunciation, when you come and sit, Don't expect immediately you to develop jhanic pleasure or concentration, nothing. You have to understand, slowly it has to drive. Whenever you go and sit and still you find that I am sitting, I know I am here and now, but you can see distracting sounds and noise and pain and everything happen. But often I have the question, many people today also there were some question, Bhante, I come and sit, I can't keep my mind with the breath. I can't keep my mind with the rising and falling. My mind is with the past and the future. My mind is with pain or sounds. The question you have to ask is, that very sound make you mindful here and now, or you consider this sound as a distraction for your mindfulness? I am repeating the question. Whenever irritating sound happen while you are sitting, you have to ask whether that sound make you aware, here now I am listening, or it's a distraction for your mindfulness. So to give an answer, you have to do this trial and error again and again. And further, when you go there, you complain the pain. You complain the knee pain, back pain, neck pain. So when and there where happen, if you are comparing it with the primary object, definitely you are off the object. You complain as wandering mind. But this pain, it's a here and now burning pain. So it is because your mind is not the past. It is not mind is not the future. Your mind is not at home. It is here. It is something reality. So when it is happening, is it a result of your mindfulness or distraction for your mindfulness? The moment you understand it's a result of your mindfulness, otherwise mind is not here, it is in the past, it's in the future, it's in the other places. Now you have to understand, now mind come and rest in the body, so therefore the body pain become amplified. Sounds become amplified. Your thoughts become very prominent. So if you can't catch this point, because of your attention, because of your diligence, because of your vigilance, now everything appears like irritating. But if your mind with the sense pleasure or sexual pleasure, these things are nothing to complain. They are below the threshold value. Now they are come up to the threshold value, they become very amplified. So you have to report them in a positive way. You can easily say, my pains are more amplified. Oh, my thoughts are becoming more and more prominent now. And sounds also more distracting me because my mind is attentive. But hardly any person can report it that way because they have a desirable love or desire for the primary object. They consider all this reality under the nose experience as an enemy, as a distraction. So that means they try to get the pleasure, lasting pleasure, without even a tiny little bit of pain. So what the Buddha says is, in order to advance in this meditation, to understand the kind of irritation you are getting now becoming less and less. But they become more prominent because of your vigilance, because of your diligence. So, therefore, instead of searching about your primary object, instead of complaining about the sounds, pain and thoughts, if you manage to see, when I am sitting, be aware that I am sitting, itself is 100% marks. Don't worry about the rising and falling. Don't worry about the in-breath and out-breath. They are details. First, focus the attention. Here now I am. Or here now I am sitting. So whatever happens is it's a gain, it's an endowment, it's a result of your attention here and now. So, and it is a pain, it's an irritation, but that irritation indicates you are free from the household distractions, worries and tension, and you are free from the monastic distractions and worries. Your worries are they are only limited to your body. And this is the way you have to deal with these hindrances. Otherwise, if you do not know how to make your mind positive, how to take the situation as a point to be glad, all the irritations will be torturing you, burning you, making complain you. But after long practice only, after long interviews only, you will understand whatever happened here and now is something positive. It is something invited, it is something leading to the reality. But we never expect even a little bit of pain and more towards the complaining, because we are so attracted to the primary object, so-called breath, so-called rising and falling, or while walking left and the right. Yes, I also agree, this is also primary object. But if you can make the body as the more preliminary, then there's a lot of reason to be glad. Whenever the mind is here and now, to make it this as the access point. This is the gateway. And when you go in there, later you may find, unless otherwise you pass this gateway, unless otherwise you go through this access, your interview report will be full of complaints. So once that is accepted, you can see within that pain and sounds and thoughts and primary object like in-breath and out-breath, they are in a mix. Accept everything as something positive. It is because of your present moment or the mindfulness or the diligence. And now you have to be more familiar with the primary object, whatever maybe you select as a prominent thing, in order to concentrate. Now only the concentration come into being. Till that, you must be rational, you must be pragmatic, understand, take in the mindfulness, take in the awareness, take in the diligence to the body itself is a big achievement. Without that, not only taken into the body, but the way you report it, to put it in a positive way, it's a very big change in your likings and disliking, your personality. So then, you know, your renunciation is already started to gain results, because your mind is more and more with the posture, whatever you may be, and when and where you be happy with the posture, then there are chances to see the metabolic action, what is happening within the body. If you are not happy with your body, everything appears like torturing and pain. So therefore, renunciation is one thing, and the appreciation of the renunciated life is completely different thing. Sitting is something, but appreciating the sitting posture is completely different thing. But instead of looking at this immediate thing, if you are going to reach something far away, very detailed, you are end up with so much of disappointment, self-criticism, tension, finding fault with other people. And you may find that the world is not working in a proper way. Why this everything people is distracting me? I am the only vulnerable person, everyone is distracting. So you find the rain also distracting. Sounds also distracting. Thoughts also distracting. Everything distracting, because your sensitivity, your alertness. So therefore you must put it in a positive way. And then the Buddha says, when and where any signal come to your body, if you're ready to appreciate, you may find the body is, as someone mentioned in the Krishnana, there is an orchestra of the four artists. Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayo, air element, water element, heat element, and earth element. They play the drama. You can see no person, but the drama is going. So now You are done away with the household problems, you are done away with the monastic problems, you are limited to the body, and within the body you can see endless, incessant drama of the four elements. And there the Buddha come out and say, darling, listen. Four people are playing a drama is with the orchestra is with these four. But only one person become dominant, all the other three will be suppressed by the dominant element. For example, whenever the air element become prominent, it managed to keep all the other three elements suppressed. So you may find complaint or gain, whatever may be at that time, only with the air element. Whenever the fire element going to become prominent, it managed to keep all the other three elements suppressed. This is the survival of the fittest. This is the capitalistic system. So whoever may be coming up, he is a capitalist, he has to kill all the other people. Kill them all and come back alone. This is the principle. So now the Buddha says, once you try to understand the four elements, be aware, be mindful only on the prominent thing. Don't worry about the rest. So then the whole responsibility of observing the body now reduces to observe the prominent element, that means the body. And that is changing from air element to the water element, whatever may be. So now you learn the art, now you take whatever the prominent thing happening and you consider this as the world. As far as it is presenting to yourself, you are not bewildered as to what to look, where to look, because whatever prominent is the thing you happen, so you see the vipassana is so simple. Of course, I have explained 4 stages. So simple, people make so much of problems, make so much of complaints, and because they have preference. They think, I am a person with anapanasati. When I sit, anapana is not coming, sounds are coming, pains are coming, thoughts are coming, rising and falling is coming. So then what to do? Well, they have a preconceived love affair with anapanasati. And whenever the rising and falling happen, happy like enemy. But if that particular another person is have a idea, no, rising and fall is much more stronger, more potential, and when the in-breath and out-breath happen, he declare war. He says, no, you are not the invited person. Rising, I am waiting for the rising and falling happen. That is what you call the sense pleasure. So give up everything and just see what is happening, and imagine when and where you to observe whatever the prominent thing, make sure it is not a hallucination. Make sure you are not sleeping. Make sure it is something verifiable. Then verily you can understand whatever you follow is under your very nose. It is something verifiable. It is not a dream. It is something happening, and see how quickly it is changing. When and where you try to see it, how fast it is changing. So you have to understand the world is changing whenever you are in the reductionism. World is permanent when you are to see the totalistic way. So therefore more and more you reduce your focal point to the thin slicing of time or tiny little particle, they are very fast moving. So that is why the Buddha says, if your desired goal you can gain not while the log is under the water, nor while it is soon after taken to the bank, but you have to work long, let it dry. After that you may try. Sometimes you may find you are the person with a lot of air element, and another person may find I am with a lot of fire element, I am with person with a lot of water element. So this orchestra may be changing, but whatever it may be, that very understanding, you understand only through the problem. You understand the air element as a problem, water element as a problem, but that is the clue. That is the object of meditation. That is your softening. That is the way you have to proceed. So when and where you replace the big pain from the little pain, that is the technique. So that means you can't get rid of pain at once. You have to understand what kind of a pain you invite, what kind of a little pain you invite in order to get rid of big pain. And if you know that, you are the person gaining. And later you replace that particular little pain with a still little pain, and ultimately you will find a manageable pain, and you know it is a effort, it's a result of your effort, it is not accidental. And when and where it is happening, whenever the big pain going to replace, you never fight with the big pain. You try to understand the pivotal point. Pivot it with the more pragmatic, more practical, under-the-nose pain, and plunge into that little pain, so much so, you are doing away with the big pain. And after that, this already selected pain also will be replaced by the little pain. For example, if I am to continue little further, when you sit, the first and foremost thing is you try to be aware. I am sitting. I am with the sitting posture. The sounds may be there. Pain may be there. Thought may be there. Breath may be there. Rising and falling may be there. But whatever may be, if you can make sure, verify, I know I am sitting, 100% marks. And after, with that kind of a contented idea, when you look at the body, due to the metabolic action, you may see the breath is the prominent, okay. Or more pervading, more prevalent, more frequent thing is breath. Then you say, this is my primary object, the next pivot. Sometimes it may be replaced with the rising and falling. At that time, you take it as the prevalent point, prominent point. And when it is happening, imagine, I am quoting some of the quotations from the question and answer. If someone can see, more and more you be face to face with the breath becomes subtler and subtler and subtler. Or more and more you be face to face with the rising and falling, if that is your primary object, and due to familiarity, due to your patient, contented observation, imagine when it is ceasing, you are ceasing the amount of pain. Out of the little bit of pain, you can see it is disappearing, tapering off. And there, you must know how to facilitate it. Because you know now everything reduces to breath. Now breath also, in a patient way, when let it happening in the natural in-breath and out-breath, when it ceases to exist, you can understand you are definitely not with the sense pleasure or frustrating pertaining to the sense pleasure. You are definitely not with the frustration the frustration pertaining to the monastic pleasure, difficulties, and you are not even with the body, now you are only with the breath, and that breath also disappearing. So you can understand, early part, you must be very, very, you must gain it through rationalization, deductive thinking, and productive way of positive thinking, or otherwise you are going to declare war with the whole pain in the world, nowhere. You have to reduce it pertaining to the pivotal point, and that which will be replaced by another still pivotal pain, and ultimately when and where this happens, breath or rising and falling or left and the right, when that is also become familiar and reducing, then you can start kindling fire or heating can start. So that is the point the Buddha, before becoming Buddha. This is not omniscient knowledge, this is rational knowledge. But they are in the Sutta, the Buddha mentioned that he gained it not by listening. It's original way of understanding. So you can't kindle fire while the log is in the water. Once the log is taken up immediately, you have to work with it. And then only your effort rubbing against the dry wood may or may not kindle fire, and even then not with accident. You have to systematically rub against, and till that, if you are not taking the log out of water, or if you let that log to be drained off, and whatever the effort you are going to put forth, the Buddha says, utter wastage of time. It is not that you are not systematic. It is not that you have no faith. It is not that method is correct. Method is wrong. But you don't know the basics. So therefore, one has to understand, don't worry about the totality of the pain. You must understand how to replace it with a little pain. So therefore, when Jnananda once he says, if you are to give up something, you have to hold something. You must know what you are holding. You must know the pragmatic value why you are holding. It's a pain. It's a burning. But compared to the totality of the pain, it is less. That is also you are ready to give up, and you are going to hold still lesser one, and then you give up this one also. So, idang nissai, idang pajata. You replace the gross thing by the little thing. Thing is pain. So therefore, more and more you master pain, it is not to learn about the pain. It is the path to the pleasure. So therefore, the presentation, the way it is happening is not appear like rational, but this is the way, the pragmatic it is happening. So before go detailed into the pleasure is not to be gained through the pleasure. Pleasure is not to be gained, not only to be gained through the pain. It is still being analyzed. It is not been concluded. So, so far, whatever we have discussed, try to apply into your life and try to understand how much worries and frustration we have done away with by simply be here and now, maybe in the present moment with your body, or maybe still within the body in breath and out breath. If you are not appreciating it, you are utterly at lost. There is no one can rescue you. So your very doing is less than 50%. And very appreciation is completely based upon the correct way and the correct way of contemplation. And that cannot be taught. It's sometimes genetical, sometimes born with. So therefore you have to give the facilities that very good trends, good way of thinking to come out, both when they come on this path can happen, so no one can predict it, it's always impromptu happening. Hope this thing, the theoretical understanding, give more energy for your striving, not to give up but to get encouraged, and then make the mind more open to the pain, but in a very strategic way. With that remark, I would like to sum up today's talk. Thank you very much for listening.